Hey there, Trevor Duke with First Mate Yacht Care. It's been a while since we did our last teak sanding video, so here we go again. Our methods, our tools, a lot of things have changed since the last time around. Figure we'll do a little update. We're down here in South Florida. We're at Sunrise Harbor. We're on 164 Westport. A lot of teak. All three decks, including the hilly deck, have a ton of teak on them. Swim platform, everywhere but the bow deck where they store the tender up there has teak. They have been using Teak Wonder for I think 2 or 3 years. It's been doing a great job protecting it. They put it on almost monthly, so they've had lots and lots of protection. If it ever needed light cleaning in between, they would two-step it. They'd still have enough Teak Wonder on as a base. They could put more on after. You can see this is a little dark orangey here. I picked this spot because it still has a little bit of Teak Wonder on. Everywhere else came off pretty well with just two-stepping. It really had a lot of sealant on, so I'm very happy that we were able to two-step off that much. Makes less work for us sanding. Let's talk about our tools. In our last video, we used the rigid 6-inch random orbital sander. We love this Makita BO6040. I have kind of a ghetto tape job on here. This vacuum doesn't have a great adapter. It's got a very narrow outlet for a vacuum, so don't mind the tape job. It's got a great tool. We use it for buffing and waxing. Not a very oxidized boat. We'd still have to use a rotary wheel for it, but for mild to light oxidation, we can use this. I can put it on forced rotation mode where it is gonna go around. It's gonna turn and do its random orbiting pattern, or I can put it on what we call wiggle mode, and it's got a bit of a clutch there, so it will still agitate, almost more of an oscillating, but it doesn't have it has a clutch engaged, and it is not gonna do its pattern no matter what. When we put it in forced rotation mode, it is going to do a circle and concentric circles around that. It is going to sand, it is going to buff. This tool has a lot of torque. It's pretty expensive, it's about 300 bucks. Most of our other buffers are running between 150 and 225. Definitely worth paying for it. We're using Mirka sandpaper. I think in our last video we showed off the Mirka Abranet, which is great stuff. We've been having a little bit of problem. The Velcro back on it is such a wide Velcro loop that it will strip the hooks from the male Velcro pad, so I'm not using that stuff today. Mirka 6-inch, 60 grit. The 6 holes line up with the stock Makita backup pad, so that's fine there. Let's look at the teak for a little bit. It's not in horrible shape. We don't have a lot of wide open grain. If anything, the caulk is just a 1/2 millimeter proud. Any other boat without a lot of Teak Wonder not being kept up as well, we would have a lot of proud caulk. So you will see us sanding off a little bit of caulk, but really the boat is not in horrible shape. It's almost on the borderline of sanding or not. Sanding is going to improve it. They have a showing coming up on the boat in a week, and they really want the boat standing tall. That's why we're sanding it. They're what they would like. I'm hoping this orange spot here shows up well. I'm not sure if you can hear my fingernails striking the caulk, but that is a little bit of proud caulk. I'll put a tape line here, and I'm going to start sanding so we can see what we're doing. Typically, I'd like to start from an edge. If you just pick a spot in the middle of your teak and you sand out from there, there can be a tendency to create a low spot or a divot. You'll notice that the next time you have dew on the boat and the next time it rains, you'll have a puddle there, just because that extra mil of teak is going to make a difference. I'm going to go with the grain a little bit. Again, we're using a random orbital sander, so we don't have to worry too much about digging out any pulp. Just want to have a flat pattern overall. Always turn on your vacuum before starting sanding. Okay, that's a pretty good halfway point. I am using 60 grit. If you look carefully, maybe freeze frame, you'll be able to see some scratches. We are going to finish this with higher than 60 grit. If we left it with 60, these little scratch marks would be visible. They would pop even more once we put a sealer on it. So 60, first step. We like to finish at 80, 100, 120. Another thing to point out, I was talking about how the caulk was a little bit proud. If you look right next to the caulk, we have some darker orange. So the caulk is kind of sheltering those areas from being sanded. That's how we know we still have more caulk to take off before we can sand those. There it is again. Here it is again with some gray areas. More sealant protected by the caulk there. As we get over here, this pattern lets us know that that was a low part of the teak. So we got to go down a little further on that, and we still see a lot of gray coming through here, a lot of dirt in there. Once we take that off and we have fresh wood, we're done sanding. No need to get too aggressive. Just taking a little pause to see the signs that we're looking for, to know we're making progress, what we still need to finish out. So we're just sanding what we need to. Okay, we're looking pretty good here. Let's take a look at the teak. See if we see anything. We're not seeing evidence of proud caulk. When I feel it, it's much, much closer. I like that. I'm happy with the height of our caulk. I'm not seeing any of the real deep grooves. This gray spot over here, we can still notice the pattern that the groove was. That is a different kind of grain. That's why it was deeper, because that grain left earlier. That looks good. I can see a little gray down here. This is my edge, so I'm not worried about that. maybe a little bit there, and again the edge is gray here, but this main area is pretty good. Maybe that's probably what bugs me most of this picture, is that little bit of gray there. Let's hit that real quick. Or actually, I'm going to take it up to 80 right now, because I'm extremely happy with the majority of the project, of the area. I'm going to start taking out those swirls, and I don't want to go at it with 60 all day. If I can use a lighter grit, that's fine. Obviously, you're not going to be switching between the jobs, so this is a decision you have to make. At the start of your job, you would have to say, okay, I'm going to get everything up to here with 60, and then I'm going to switch to 80, and then you would, that would be your halfway point, we'll call it. If you were to keep switching sandpaper in the middle of a job, stuff would be patchy, you'd get a checkerboard effect. That would not be great. This has been finished with 60 and 80. I think that's about where we left off. Let's take a look at it. Very smooth. These are just water lines from water drying when I wiped it to get the dust off. We're not seeing as many scratches with the 80. We're not seeing a lot of dirt in this grain, which means I think we've gone down far enough. There's always going to be a little bit of that dark. If we wanted to go all the way down and we didn't care about the life of the teak, we could go crazy on it. We could whip out some 36 grit and just chew through it, but that's not going to help us. So this is a pretty good compromise in having it clean. We've taken off just as much wood as we need to. If there's just a little bit, we'll call that 5% of the area has these dark flecks, that's not going to bother us. Here's a good before and after, 60 and 80. This is where my tape line was. I was also noticing on the first part of the video, when I sanded on the line, you could see the black showing through on the tape. That indicates how much taller the caulk was, that I was sanding through the tape to get to the caulk, but the tape in between was not affected. Gonna try and get another good camera shot there of the before and after. It is quite a difference there. That's about it for the area. Again, I said I wiped with a wet rag. That just gets the dust off. Sometimes when the wood's wet, you can see your scratch marks a little more. And the wood will take the water differently than this old stuff. This will soak up and get darker than this. Let me see if I have a wet rag. Here's a damp rag. So we can see that this stuff that still has the oil and hasn't been sanded does not want to take the water completely like this. We're getting these funky olive colors there. If I do this all the way around, we'll be able to see my sanding area pretty clearly. There we go. That's my tape line. It's quite a difference. That is about all we have. If you have any comments about this video, I hope it's a little more informative than the last one. I hope I don't contradict myself in the last one too much. Here's an area we're sanding too. Not a lot to show off here. We got some deep, I don't want to call it splits in the wood, but we got some deep marks there that we're gonna have to chase down a little further. We got Megan over here taping. We're using this 3M silver tape right now. A little stronger than the blue stuff, and we'll probably put a layer of blue stuff on top of this just to protect the paint. Even on these sides, although the buffer is going to go right on top here, we still want to protect the bottom because we're going to be hand sanding that radius, and we don't want to scratch the bottom of that gutter. Megan's going to put another piece of tape on the back here to protect the paint. Lots of steps to sand. I'm going back here. We have a lot of teak. A lot of teak. I have some pictures, no video, but just pictures of the before with the Teak Wonder on there. We'll put those up. Just looking now, the area that we have sanded is still holding water. Everything else dried already. I would say that's absorbing better because it's fresher wood, if you will. Trevor Duke, First Mate Yacht Care at Sunrise Harbor. We got Sovereign there, Hush, Eagle's Nest, and Incentive. Thank you.